Good morning and welcome to Adventures and Awakening here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world, you see. We'll get into that. I have two stories in mind this morning, two stories I'm working. You sound like Rachel Maddow. I have a story. We're working on this story. I'm working on two stories this morning. One of them is The Wisdom of the Fish, which I'm writing about. I went to had a physical yesterday with Dr. Hall and crew, and in his room he had two huge fish stuff on the wall, and he caught one and his son caught the other. And so I wrote a story about the wisdom of the fish. But then what I want to talk about is who's your mother? Who's your mother? There's I remember a children's book, and I think it was about a duck who was looking for its mother. And it would go to a dog, "Are you my mother?" It would go to a fire plug, a cat, "Are you my mother?" Everything. And it would, great story. And I think this is true, that a duck, unlike a chick, will bond with the first mother figure it finds, so it may bond with a dog or something and follow that, but it's a pattern. It seems the duck will bond with whatever pattern appears as the mother, the first thing that is, because the chick or the child doesn't see content, it sees patterns. So what I'm curious, for instance, and this is validated, I think, that newborn chicks, if the hawk flies over, it'll run for cover, not because it knows a hawk, it knows the pattern. If it's a seagull, it won't do it. But the hawk pattern, you see, is ingrained. So there's something about the pattern that is below, under the table, so to speak, or bonding, so to speak. You see, so even a child, a kid, and perhaps you, a little girl sees a ballerina, and she knows she's going to be that. Or a little boy, if he sees a fireman, and he knows he's going to be that. So it's this, and it's not the individual personality of the fireman or the personality or the content of the ballerina. It's the pattern. It's the pattern, you see. So we bond with patterns. We know patterns, but consciousness can't compute patterns. Consciousness only sees content, forms. You see, it doesn't see the pattern unless you work with it, but there's a pattern of the fireman, and then there's the individual fireman. So we're not really conscious of the pattern, but we can receive the transmission of the pattern below the table of consciousness. So if a child suddenly knows I'm going to be this or that, it knows it. And I know you've had this experience. If suddenly you see somebody and you know that you're going to marry them, you know there's a pattern there. You know that I'm going to marry that person. What? You don't know the person yet. Get to know the person, the personality, the content. It's the pattern. It's the pattern, you see. So it's like with with quantum physics. This is what blew Newton out of the water. The fact that a photon, depending on the experiment you set up, is either going to be a wave or a particle. It's going to be a thing or energy. Which is it? Well, it depends on the way you set your instruments. It'll be either a wave or a thing, a particle, in space and time, you see. So we can see particles. I see particles around here. I see a lamp. Now see, everything in here is a particle. It's a thing. Everything in here is a thing. I don't see any patterns. Now the cat is a thing. There's a cat here, there's a cat there. But every cat has a pattern. It'll have little behaviors. This cat has behaviors. Most of them irritating. But you see right there. The cat itself, oh, I love that cat. But the pattern drives me crazy. See? Is it the same or two? So, but anyway, so we're trying to meditate, work with this and massage it, you see, and pull the cotton ball apart here. When the child sees a role model, it bonds with it and it knows it's going to do that. And it will overcome all obstacles to become that, you see. So there's this transmission that happens. So I was, talking, so I think this began to write about, this whole idea of, do you need a guru? Do you need a spiritual teacher? Do you need a role model? Well, yes. Because if let's say there's Christianity, there's second birth, all spiritual traditions have a second birth. Born again. Second, what is the second birth? Well, the first birth is going to be created by worldly role models. The fireman, the politician, whatever inspires you under the table of your consciousness, you see, will be a transmission that happens beyond consciousness. You just know. I just know I'm going to do that. One day I'll do that. One day I'll be that. I just know it. Can't prove it. I just know it, you see. I know I'm going to marry that. I know I'm going to be with. I know I'm going to. You just know it, you see. What's that knowing? You see, that knowing is not consciousness in the sense that it's this or that. It's something that's deeper. It's beneath the table. So you're sitting at a dinner table and you're talking about going to Walmart and what happened to you, yada, 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 yada. And the person next to you puts their hand, might be a woman or a man, puts your hand on your leg. Whoa. And nobody knows it. But that focuses you. Now, the conversation on the table, just kind of like icicles falling off the roof, fades into the background. The only thing that's real is that hand on your leg. And that's under the table. And so now the story of, what does it mean? And then what does it mean? Do you get up and leave, or do you let the hand proceed? See? A lot of porn, a lot of movies are about this, like this thing between over the consciousness, you see, and under the table of being. So it's like being is under the table of consciousness, and consciousness is all about little me and my little experiences, and whether I'm liked or not, or whether I'm going to have a good day or a bad day, and I share all my little experiences, and what happened to me at Walmart, and yada, yada, yada. That's all yada, yada. Under the table is this vast space of being. And that's where the bonding happens. So if you're ready, if you feel like, if you're at a place where the yada, yada above the table is just meaningless, it's just not real, and you want to know what's real because you realize that just conversations about what you bought at Walmart is superficial. I mean, it's just waves, yada, 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 foam, you see. What's deeper? Where's the depth? Where's the meaning? What's real? That's what we want. What's real, you see? All this yada, yada stuff is just not real. It can be entertaining or fun or whatever. Most people, and when you go to a party and you go meet the family, it's all yada yada. And after you've exhausted about what everybody's done and you've brought up to date, well, then you look around, what else is there to talk about? Is it time to go yet? So we want this under the table is what's real. And if you're ready for what's under the table, then you're ready for a transmission that will be under the table. You will get a transmission from under the table. But it will come from, and I hate to say someone, it kind of like comes from under the table. For instance, right, the hand on your leg, that's under the table. There's a hand on your leg. It's most real. It's more real than all the yada yada conversations, you see. So when you get a truth transmission, does it come from a particle or the wave? Does it come from being itself, you see? Because under the table, there is no, all the beings, all the forms, all the particles are above the table. So there's somebody there, there's somebody there, there's 5 people sitting here. And they all have personalities and they're all form. They're all things. But under the table, there is no thing. All the things are on top of the table. But under the table, there's just being. This vast space where no thing is special. That's what Bodhidharma said his teaching was. Vast space where nothing is special. Nothing is holy. So all the special things are above the table. He's special, I'm special, I want to be special. Why aren't you special? Oh, let's talk about something special, yada, 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 yada. But under the table is just vast being. And you can be touched under the table. So we're talking a little bit metaphor here. So when somebody puts their hand on your leg, you know it's the person next to you, but that knowledge is from above the table. Oh, I can look there. Well, what if nobody's sitting there? You see? But I know, because the form's up here, well, that's somebody next to it. Let's see, there's 2 people here. It must be that person who's got their hand on the table. But under the table, there is no form. There's just being, and it touches you. The child is touched by the role model. You're touched by the meeting. You're touched by the call to adventure. We're all called to it. We're touched by the call to adventure. You're brought up in a hometown where everything is yada yada. Everything is Groundhog Day. I want to be called. I want to be touched by reality. I want to know what's real. So I'll leave town so I can find it. I'll follow my potential. I'll explore. I'll go beyond my boundaries, you see. Above the table, everything has boundaries. Everything is known. Everything is experienced. Everything is possible. Under the table, everything is unknown. Everything is beyond boundaries. Everything is unknowable under the table, because if it's above the table, you know it. Oh, there's that. What's on the table? I know it all. Good things and bad things. Keep the good, get rid of the bad. It's all known. But under the table is this vast being that we know is real when it touches us, you see. It's real. So this is where I'm playing with this, working with my own experience. You read a book and you're touched. You see a speaker, YouTube, anywhere. You go to a class, I don't care, anything. It can come from anywhere. An audio teaching, that's the best. That's why Rush Limbaugh was so powerful, because he was an oral teacher. So we're touched by the real, which is what's under the table, and we have to follow it. We're pulled by it. We're pulled out of the known by the unknown. We're pulled by being itself, you see. And that's who we are. We are being. So I'm being pulled by myself. I'm being pulled by the need, the urge, the drive to transcend myself. And of course we could say that's love. Love is transcending boundaries, transcending the two to discover the one. So love is the drive towards unity, towards a greater being, towards more real reality, more real, you see. Anyway, I've been playing with this idea. And so, so right there. So there is one of my gurus. I had two real gurus, but the personality is not important. That was Swami Rama. He died in 1973, I think, but I met him in 1970. And he changed my life, but he was just a personality. Would lose his keys and couldn't find his socks, But he was in his being, so he touched me. He touched me. It wasn't what he said, wasn't what he did. He just touched me because my being wanted to be touched. My being was ready to be touched by something that was beyond the wah-wah, the yada-yada of the dining room table, you see. And so this one was another one. You see, that was Swami Muktananda. So I met him in the late 70s, and he touched me. And he changed me, you see. It wasn't his personality. It wasn't his form. It was something beyond form. Something, and I don't even want to say a pattern. Something beyond form. And he touched me, you see. Or you read a book, Eckhart Tolle. I talk about Albert Lowe, Joseph Campbell. These were all teachers that touched me. But the touch is always under the table, below consciousness. But we can't turn away. We can't resist it. And it's like an aroma. The scent of woman, whatever, the perfume. We follow the perfume of being. It pulls us out of our little hometown. It pulls us out of our known. It pulls us out of our beliefs. All of it, you see. Like a fisherman hooks us. The unknown, the call of being hooks our heart and reels us out of the water of the known, you see. So we all have that hook, you see. We all feel that call in some way, a better job, to go beyond this, whatever form it takes. Doesn't matter. It's the same call. It's the same yearning. It's the same under the table vast space where nothing is holy or special, you see. Anyway, thanks for dropping in this morning. See you on Facebook. Come on, go off.